take a look at the Looney bin here. Patrick Stevens over at Numbskull sent me a pile of another pile of games to take a look at. I'm trying to make my way through them. This one my wife and I gave a shot to earlier. Neither of us was terribly impressed. She kind of liked it because it's kind of cutesy and, you know, lighthearted and all that. For me, it wasn't funny enough to enjoy it just for that, and there really isn't much game here. Let me go over what we've got, but he also sent me the expansion to it, which really isn't much more than just more game. It replaces the cards you need for victory with ones that are more complicated to achieve, and increases the victory conditions, so it takes longer. Personally, I don't see much value in that, but it does expand it so you can play it in up to 10 players. You can see the playing time for this is 1 to 2 hours. The playing time for this is 1 hour. It might even be less if you're playing with a small, just a couple of people. My wife and I got through it pretty quickly, rules and all. There isn't a lot to the rules. The expansion just really tells you how to set up the difference of it. And we've got different cards to keep yourself occupied with. Okay, let's take a look at what it is. There's not a lot of rules here, and they're printed in a way to make you feel like you belong in a Looney bin. You got basically a number of components. A pile of these kind of flimsy chits, I haven't even clipped them, that indicate different types of treatments, and there's an additional treatment available in the expansion. You've got these cards, which are going to be treatment goals. Each of your patients is going to have one of these. You don't get to look at it, but your opponents do, in order to evaluate how well your treatment's going of that patient. And they'll each have 3. Now the expanded version, they each have 4, I believe. These are your patients. They don't matter for anything except, well, number has some slight effect on play, but in general, they only really, as does gender and some other things, which isn't noted on the card. You have to guess it, which might be hard with some of them if their names and appearance are not obvious. But in general, they're just kind of humorous characters you might find in a really, really scary Looney bin. And then you've got action cards, and there's a bunch of these. There's different types. This is a play anytime, which means you can play during other people's turns, but most of them you can only play in your own turn. So for example, this one you would play on another player and it would affect them. You could play it on yourself if you wanted, but this is another play anytime. There's a distinguishment between those that have a number on them indicating that they're staff, and that might affect certain other cards that affect only staff. And there may be some other little things in there that some of the cards can affect, like, I don't know, cards that start with an L, you know, I don't know. I haven't seen anything like that. Okay. So what you're going to do is you deal out a pile of patients, 4 patients to each player. Those turn face up. Remember, they don't really matter too much. And each player also gets, this is the base game. The advanced game may have some, or the expansion may have some additional cards or something. You get 5 of these action cards each. And, 5 of the action cards are removed from the deck to give you kind of a, if you memorize the deck somehow, you won't be able to know that a given card is going to be in there. So there might be an important counter card or ability that you view as terribly important, and that you're holding a card to counter and it may not even exist in the deck. For whatever that matters, chances are, I don't know, when my wife and I played, we didn't get anywhere near through the action deck. I'm probably going to play in 4 instead of 2, although there's not much difference. Okay. Then whoever has the highest numbered patient is going to go first, and then I guess you go clockwise, and I'll go counterclockwise, of course. And you're allowed to do as many of these cards from your hand as you wish in a turn, and one attempt to cure one of your patients. Well, to treat one of your patients. So what you're going to have on the board, not just the patient here, but these guys are going to start face down, and these are going to be a pain to shuffle because they're square little things. And you have one of these, and you never get to look at this unless instructed to by a card. Now, the play of the cards, you just do what the cards say, and we're not going to worry about that too much. We'll take the enjoyment of reading them as we go through it. But when you choose to do your treatment, or if you get a card that allows you to do a treatment, you might decide, okay, I'm going to try to use the padded room on him. I think that'll help him. And then one of your opponents looks at this and says, oh yeah, that worked, and then you mark it as one of the 3 treatments that he needs, or no, it didn't work, and you mark it as not one of the treatments he needs. That's important because that means you don't have to play memory as to, hey, did I try this one on him before, or anything like that. And you can see that would have been a success with him. If I get all 3 of the treatments needed, what's that number mean? Yeah, I think these are just numbered as well, which might have an effect on some of the cards. If you get all 3 of them needed, you'll put your card over in your, hey, I've treated him successfully pile, and he's no longer on your ward where you have your people. Okay. Well, that's great. And then at the end of your turn, you get to draw, I believe, 1 card. There's no hand limit or anything like that. If anybody has play at any time cards, they can play them at any time. And at least one of them is a, hey, you didn't actually win card. Which is kind of potent. Okay. Once you've cured 5 patients or your ward is empty, you win the game. There are 2 here. Clean sweep and discharge rejected can postpone the ending. If the winning player wins by emptying their ward, but another player has cured more patients, that player gets a moral victory. Now, yeah. So, one of the points is that you can play additional patients on people, but the game has a hard time limit because once you've cured 5 people, you win. So even though you start with only 4 patients on your ward, you have 2 ways of winning. One is by getting rid of those 4 patients, which might include transferring them to another ward or something. The other is, hey, if you're getting kind of bad luck on the action cards and people keep piling up on you with patients, eventually you'll hit 5 successful cures and win the game that way. And there's really not a lot to this other than, hey, reading the cards, seeing what you can do with them, and putting them into effect. I'm going to give it a little bit of a playthrough. I don't know if I'm going to make it through the whole thing because, honestly, it's not... First of all, I didn't enjoy it all that much, and secondly, it's not really conducive to solo play at all, but I'd like to give you a little show of how it plays. Alright, we'll send this one up, even though it's... let's try to do it all in one video, especially if I'm not going to finish the game. One thing I should note here is these guys, they're all absolutely unique, which is to say, if you see a set of this, which is like padded room, group therapy, and electroshock, well, there will never be that set again. So if you know that you've already got padded room and group therapy, you will not pick electroshock if this card has already been revealed, because it can't be duplicated. Just an important little, one of the few little points where there's actual strategy in this game. Okay, so here's my setup with 4 players set here, and you can see they all have their own little cute things. And that can be kind of an amusement in the game, reading what the characters say and what their little, since bread is square, why is sandwich meat round? Yeah, I gotta agree, that's a good question. Okay, so now each player would be holding their hand of cards face down so that nobody else can see it. Like in any multiplayer kind of game of this sort, some of it may be perception of who's winning that's important here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. So for example, here, positive benefit of male, get to try one extra treatment. Well, I might want to hold this until I'm close to winning. Primal scream therapy, no treatment on this patient this turn. Well, I probably want to hold this until somebody's down to one patient or something like that. Just as an example. What I really want to pay attention to, though, is the play any times. This ward may not receive any new patients this turn. Send patient to any other ward. Which would be useful to play on myself, to tell you the truth. But it might also be useful just as somebody's winning to slap somewhere. I don't know. And we'll look at this. This is a staff member here. I don't think we had one there. And he's got a number on him, which indicates that. And I'll set these up, and then we'll start playing. I just want to make sure that I have, you know, the play any times available to me so I can think about them. But again, the players would actually be holding them so nobody could see what they are. Okay, hopefully our highest number is over here at 75. That would be really nice. And it indeed appears to be the case. So I don't have to, you know, I get to start over here like I like to. All right, well, this guy has a number of cards. Some are bad ones to other people. One's a good one to him, but he doesn't really want to play it at this point. Although it is possible someone might steal your cards. So in some ways, playing your cards might be of some value. All right, but he'll start off, and here's an interesting card, which may look like it has no value. Reverses lowest number patient to highest number patient, or vice versa. This is a card you'd play pretty much in reaction to another card, which maybe screws with a specific numbered patient, like your highest numbered patient loses all cures and gets his card changed or something like that. That might target someone you really don't want targeted, and by playing this you might be able to partially dodge a bullet. So that's kind of neat. Okay, so we're going to open up by saying, okay, well, we'll try something. And this guy, Manic Martin, is that the pillow tag police? Well, he looks dangerous, so we're going to try to put him in a padded room. We're not going to play any cards. I don't think it's a good idea to do so right away. And then the person to his left looks at this and says, nope, that won't work. And so he puts an X on there to indicate he's got a failed treatment. There's an interesting card here. Receive one incorrect treatment on all patients in ward. Now, the implication would be the guy to your left would look at all these and do that. And I think that's probably the best idea, because basically you get to peek at only one other person's treatment regime. And remember, the advantage of, hey, you know there's only one copy of each card, so that gives you, that's the one place where you have like some need to remember stuff. I was afraid the whole game was going to be a memory game, and it's not. But there is some effect to it there. And then we're going to just pass, because we don't want to burn one of our useful cards here, and we get another card, and this doctor becomes a patient. Okay, so I would say that this is something you play when a staff member is used, but it would have to be a staff member who says doctor, like Dr. Einstein, I guess. So that may be something you want to play right away if you can remember that you have it in your hand, which is going to be hard for me playing solo. This guy goes next. Let's see. Okay, so if I have lousy cards in my hand, this could be useful, but I lose a card to use it. But if other people are holding cards and have a handful, I could steal some of their better ones. Shock therapy, attempt straitjacket therapy, and all. This is really cool because I can do it to everyone. So I have ability for shock and straitjacket therapy with these, so I probably don't want to pick those. And I'm going to look at Sparky, and it looks like Sparky needs to be restrained. So we're going to give him a straitjacket. And then the guy to his left would look and say, nope. And that goes here. All right, I'm going to step away until something interesting happens, because this is really how the play of the game goes. You're just drawing cards and doing this, and there really isn't much going on that's of great interest, you know, in terms of either a narrative or anything else. As I begin to go the second time around, we've had failures over on this side, successes over on this side. One question that you have to bring to mind is whether or not to concentrate on a patient. If you concentrate heavily on a patient, for example, here I've got 2 failures. Well, there are only 2, 4, 6, 7 treatments, right? 2 failures means I've reduced the chances of failures because I've already picked these. But as I concentrate more and more on that patient, it becomes more valuable for someone else maybe to steal or something. Another minor case that you might want to keep in mind while you're playing. But there really isn't a lot here. So over here, something interesting's happened. I've gotten 2 successes, electroshock and a lobotomy. I've got a failure on them. But at this point, I think it's time to play a doctor. And Dr. Heinkel will do drug therapy on everyone. That gives me another shot to try to cure him. Get him off my ward. That's helpful in general. This will shoot everyone. Question, of course, is I've got one person who has a very, very good solution to this over here. He could place. He can't play that because that's not an instant. But this one, he could turn the doctor into a patient. That might be of some value, and I think it cancels out the doctor action as well. It's a little early to be doing that, so he's going to hold off. That's a very powerful card. See if anybody else has any. I could do this to cancel out. Again, a bit early, but he's going to do that. And just cancels out that card. This is a play anytime, so you can play it. And now this guy has nothing else. He has another character he wants to try. I don't want to give shock therapy because I've already given that. I don't want to give this. I don't have anything else. Okay, well, I'm pissed at him. How pissed? Not pissed enough to do anything about it. Alright, and we'll keep moving onward. This card is a good example of why you don't want to just keep growing your hand. But given that everybody's kind of doing that, I'm not so sure I want to play it quite yet. I think I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to play my own card, though. Dr. Engelbert. That gives me 1 incorrect treatment on all patients in the ward. Well, this guy's still pissed. He does not have any play at any time except for this, which would prevent lobotomies. Big deal. This guy might play it. Yeah, he's going to hold him. He played a card to oppose someone else. He's not going to piss him off. He feels like that was kind of a good thing to do. Okay. So now what happens is the player to the left, who actually is to the right in my game, but whatever, will look at each of these and choose something incorrect. So I've got these. I'm going to... Do I have any benefit, any cards that I can use here? So I don't have anything that would allow me to interfere. So I don't have any clues that help me, decide, hey, if I had something that said like no lobotomies, I wouldn't play lobotomies on anyone. But this guy does not have a lobotomy. So I can give him 1. We're just going to do that kind of at random. I don't know why. Just because we like the idea of someone. Oops. Well, now see, I'm giving a hint if I put a lobotomy there, so That's no good. We'll just put kind of random things out. There. Now, by getting that clue, I come closer to solving this person, which is one reason why I played this card early enough, is I want to make sure, A, that I have all my folks, and B, that it's actually useful to me to get the information that I get. So now being given that, I'll choose an electroshock, I guess, and hopefully I probably, you know, because I'm playing both roles, I probably am aware and kind of cheating in favor of people all the time. Again, not a game you want to play solo. Another potent thing. This only affects even-numbered patients, though, and I only have one of them, so I may want to hold it until I have maybe more patients or something. To a kind of an interesting point, because this guy also did a, hey, electroshock everyone card. Now, the point is, we don't know if these guys have those cards and have just chosen not to play them yet to kind of sandbag their position, or if they don't have them and these guys had advantageous cards but played them early and now are in what appears to be a stronger position. So there is, you know, some of that element of playing it off of each other and everything, and trying to play the crowd as you play, in terms of, you know, trying to make the group think that you're doing well or not. I think that you're doing not well, while not hurting your own chances, because by playing some of those cards early on, you get some advantages in terms of information about your patients that you can trigger a little bit more easily. Plus, you don't screw up like this guy did, where he had straight jacket on everyone. Well, now I did a straight jacket on someone. Crap. I have a kind of nice card here, this early release. I think I'm going to play this. Patient is healed after 2 successful treatments. I don't think anybody has a counter to that. But then this is how this is done. His card's revealed and put face up so everybody can see it. Just so that, and then all these go away. And Sparky is over in my score pile. And now I've gotten one of my 3. And now I'll go on and do my normal. Oh, you know, before I did that, no. I was going to do the straight jacket one. I'm going to do it now. Fire that off. Now, I'm kind of in the lead, and some people might be interested in doing something about that. This guy is going to have the doctor go ballistic and cancel out his card. It would have been worse to send him crazy, but now I get a regular attempt to cure. I have a cool card, allows me to look through the cards in another opponent's hand and take a card of their choice. Well, he's got a lot of cards. I'm curious. Let's see what you got. I only get 1. Doctor becomes a patient. All even number patients get an extra treatment. That's not going to help me much. Search through the discard pile and take any card you want. Wow, that's potent. An extra treatment. There's not a whole hell of a lot that's very valuable. This one works for 2 for him, so I'm going to grab that, and that gives me the even numbered guys. I have another one that does even number, but maybe it's not on this set. Oh, this one incorrect treatment. That would be very useful if it targeted this guy, but it doesn't. So I think I'm going to hold those and see if I end up with more even number patients, and I'll keep my even number patient available to me and not try to do things to him. The thing I want to step up to is, you know, I was saying, well, there's not a lot of strategy to this. That probably came from playing a 2-player. There's a lot of take that in it, and a lot of things you can do to other people. Therefore, like a game of Munchkin or something like that, if you played in multiple players, a different dynamic arises in the game. And I have to say, it is more interesting than I thought it would be. It's turning out better and a little bit less lame playing it out solo than it did playing a 2-player game. Unfortunately, the game does supposedly support 2 players. You can play it 2 players. It's just there's no game there, basically, because you use all your targeting cards on someone. It's kind of like playing Pentacle 2-player, as opposed to, say, a game of Magic the Gathering, where because you get to create the deck and kind of fashion it for combat capability and for interlocking cards and everything. Once you're aware of what your deck does, it makes perfect sense to play a 2-player, and tends to be better because you can make really hideous decks. You can make decks that are really hideous in multiplayer games. You can make decks that are really hideous in 2-player games. They tend to be the same ones in Magic. The ones with, lots of, hey, you're not doing that. No, we're not gonna, and just trying to outlast the other guy or something. We have sort of the match made in heaven. I put Dr. Ames in, who wants to chop people's brains open. And I've got this landscaper here who prevents lobotomies in the ward. So he can cancel the ability of this guy to do his job. Now, I am going to give Lopez a coffee break. And that means he won't be affected till next turn with that. And there are other things which can cancel that out. I'm trying to see that if somebody had a, hey, this card doesn't do anything card. This I could play at any time, but I can't cancel the card that's been played by playing it. That's not its effect. I thought somebody had one that prevents a card from doing something. I'm not seeing it. Finish up that round. This guy pulls this anxiety attack. Give 1 card from your hand to each player. Nearly all of these cards are played on someone, right? You get to choose to play it on yourself if you want, but I could play this on this person, and that forces them to do that. Otherwise, you would never want to play that card if it affected just you. This guy over here was able to play Nurse Gasket, 2 incorrect therapies, so now he knows everything he picks is right. Great, but somebody could steal them. Over here, we've got an interesting situation. I know this guy's got the instant insanity. I don't have a counter for that. What that means is I want to see if I can make him discard that card with the over the edge. We'll see what he ends up throwing. Chances are that's one of his better cards, so he won't. Actually had some pretty good cards. This no admission is sort of a win the game card. This can prevent other people from screwing you up. This ward may not receive any new patients this turn, and it sends a patient to another ward. If you're down to 1, you can pretty much prevent ugly stuff from happening with that. Of course, there are cards which will counter that. But, having seen that card go away, it's time for this guy to use his bonus cards that allow him to do multiple things at once. And he's going to do that before this guy gets a chance to say, I don't know, get his card back or something. Who knows? I'm going for the win here. I mean, not directly, but I just played Dr. Feelgood, who gave me the group therapy. Now I'm going to grab some more with Dr. Jails, who will do hypnosis on 2 of my 3. He'd do it to all, but it seems like a good idea here to use Executive Administrator Al, who limits 1 treatment on each patient and kind of cancels out the effect of that doctor. The doctor's still played, it's just he can't do anything. So do I have anything that could convert that? Well, no. I do not. And I can't even take my normal action, therapy action, because I've put 1 on everyone. So I just draw a card. And I don't get to play this right away. Any card played towards any ward is intercepted and played to your ward. Ooh, that's a powerful card. Now, that's going to be tough to play solo, just because I can't remember what all the cards have, but you can see where, you know, you'd be sitting there with your hand of cards, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and then you forget anyway. That happens to me regularly in this kind of game. It's why I don't like a lot of interactive and reactive type cards in it. But those cards can be fun, at least in concept. It's just I'm always pissed at myself because I always screw them up. Here's a nice one. So this guy just got depleted to 3 cards. I'm going to slap this anxiety attack on him and force him to give 1 card to each other player. He does not have a counter to that, and that's kind of painful. I see this guy is in the worst shape, so I'll give him the bonus no admission. This is almost as good. I'm sure the hell not going to give it to the guy who just screwed me, so this guy gets this. During this, the coffee break is over, which means Landscape Lopez is here, which means no lobotomies. Well, I'm not doing any because everybody's got a lobotomy, so I'm just going to pitch him for now. This guy over here decides to play Helter Skelter. Search through the discard pile, pick a card he wants. He takes the card that lets him steal a card from someone else. And I'm more worried about this guy's collection of abilities, of cures, than this guy. So I'm going to go after him even though he has more cards. And no real abilities take place here. So let's see. All odd numbers get a correct treatment. That's kind of good. This doesn't really help me. All females get an extra therapy. I only have maybe 1 female. Pyropat, but Pat looks kind of male there, so I think that's female. No way you can really tell. The worst vice is advice. So I think this is my best card, and I'll go ahead with that and see what else I can do. Kind of a nice position here where we have 2 correct treatments and this card in hand. We're going to take an automatic correct treatment. That way we don't have to play guessing games anymore. But here's the problem. This guy has this skewed schema. He can play against it and take that correct treatment himself. Now he could take it here. He knows what that correct treatment is though. So that's kind of a waste. So he's probably going to take it on something else. So I'll play that here. Now this, which allows you to redirect a card played to ward on your right, isn't going to work here because this is played against the card itself. I don't think anybody has the ability to take advantage of this, to do anything really impressive with this. So letting this guy steal the correct treatment seems like not that big a deal. Getting close. This guy cleared Pyropat out because all the options were taken, and now plays a computer error to clear out Scatterbrain Scotty. Nobody's got anything they can do about it. By the way, a field trip was played on this guy, so he's not going to be able to do any treatments on this next turn. That includes treatments from cards. Now, if I had this no admission, I could play it on myself, prevent anything from going here, and send my patient off somewhere else. I don't, and I'm looking like a pretty big bunny right now. Of course, if I cure him, I'm at 4, which means I'm still only 1 patient away from success. Even if I have a lot of patients in my ward, it doesn't really help. That's one reason I think, because the game is kind of short, the expansion adds makes it out to 7 patients for success. But honestly, you can tweak that to your own tastes however you like. With a player this close, it's time to play 2 newly admitted nuts. Play 2 new patient cards on any player's ward. Now, do I have anything to prevent this? Not really. So I'm going to get hit with Nutty Nathan and Frenzied Fran, and because patients require the ability to be diagnosed, gets a couple of these here. This guy's got the field trip, so he's not going to be able to do any diagnosis of his own. We're back around at the top of the order. And it's trouble time. I picked my thing. I'm going to play my visitor. And choosing this, which turns out to be the correct one. Yeah, I'm cheating, but I just wanted to show how this works. Okay, I've just cured him, and I'm going to be able to score him. But now I play this no admission, which says I can't be given anything, and I can send this patient to another ward. I'll send her over here, and I've cleared everything out. Now, I don't think anybody had a card which allows you to do anything about it. Plus, this guy's got 2 defensive cards. Unfortunately for me, I peeked at the tile to see whether the last treatment worked and saw what the other treatment is. And, you know, there was just, I could roll a die on it and try to do it. But I think you've gotten a good enough idea of how the game plays. It's not really, like I said, it's not really something to try solo for the most part. I'll come back for a few minutes on camera just to chat a little bit about the overall review. Look at Looney bin here. I did not play the expansion, so I can't tell you much about it except that it's really just more of the same, a bigger deck of diagnosis selections, a few more event action cards, a few more patients. The patients don't really do anything except make it possible to play in a larger group of players. Slightly richer or more difficult victory conditions to extend the game out a little bit, but you can tinker with that as you like. Okay, so my first impression of this game when I played a 2-player was really lousy. I took a look at it and said, wow, there's basically no game here. But I forget about things like Pentacle and Munchkin and how silly they are in 2-player as well. I would strongly suggest never play this in 2-player except as almost a children's game. It doesn't really serve any great. You don't have a good game there. You have an activity you can play, you know, with each other and throw cards at each other or whatever. But it's not much more than like playing, you know, something that's almost entirely luck-based. But played with multiple players, it actually does have some strategy in it, in the sense of, hey, you gotta kind of hold on to your cards until you really need them to be able to stop the guy who's about to win. You gotta kind of try to figure out whether or not it's important to optimize, you know, your diagnosis capability, or if you're more worried about what your apparent position in the game is, because there's some cards that can really do a lot of good for you, but if you play them early, it's obvious that they're doing you a lot of good and you'll just attract a lot of ill will and nasty take that type of cards. So it's still not my kind of game. There's no question about that. And by the way, I hate these kind of sleeves. A couple of the numbskull games have them. Victory Point Games uses them. They're just obnoxious. One of the games I cut apart the sleeves so that I could glue it to the box because I think I'm actually going to like the game. Anyway, overall, if you like the kind of, I don't remember if Lunch Money had a lot of it. I think it kind of did. Pentacle has it. Munchkin is probably the currently most popular of this type of game, where you've got a handful of stuff you can do to the other players and to yourself to benefit yourself. You've got some little mechanisms in play, this little guessing game with the chits. And there are some things, you know, where you can optimize your play, but it's usually not too much in the way of strategy there. Where the real strategy comes is in, you know, the interaction and perception of who's winning. Can you play this Yeah, I'd say you can probably play this at a coffee shop. You do have a little bit of a tableau in front of you, but it's not too bad. So as long as it's not just like a tiny little ice cream table, and yes, I've been to places where that's what you have, as long as you have a coffee table or something, I think you can get away with playing this on it. You certainly don't need a table my size. Anyway, gives you a look at it. Not going to be one of my favorites, but you know, if you like this kind of game and you want to shake it up and not just play the same couple of games all the time, this gives you a good alternative for that. That's about it.